right, let's talk about disaster relief for California. I want to tell you something that California Governor Gavin Newsom wrote recently. He said, quote, "There must be no conditions, no strings attached to disaster aid." And yet we know that there's a big conversation happening right now on Capitol Hill about linking disaster aid for California to an increase in the debt limit, which has been a traditionally really thorny issue. Are you and can you commit that California disaster relief won't have strings attached?
No, I won't commit that because we have a serious problem in California. Listen, there are natural disasters. I'm from Louisiana. We're prone to that. We understand how these things work. But then there's also human error. And when the state and local officials make foolish policy decisions that make the disaster exponentially worse, we need to factor that in. And I think that's a common sense notion.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. That clip you saw of Meet the Press just aired earlier today. And it's MAGA Mike Johnson acquiescing to today's president-elect, tomorrow's president as of about noon, in regards to natural disasters and the funding for California. The president-elect has stated that he wants the funding withheld from California unless California and Gavin Newsom are willing to go along with an unrestricted budget. In other words, he wants the spending cap lifted on the budget, which they weren't able to get done during Joe Biden's session, and it's coming up tomorrow. So he wants to be able to release the spending cap. Now, he so badly wanted that to happen on Joe Biden's watch so that he could say, hey, look, Joe Biden was the one that removed the cap. But let's talk about that for just a second. My main conversation is with Mikey tonight, and I want to make sure that Mikey understands that, hey, I'm his buddy. I actually pulled for him during the House votes on whether he was going to get to keep his job or not. And I think that's the second or third time they've threatened him about his job. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Or you can call it the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But Mike, I was on your side, but I'm having a problem with what you're doing here, what you're going along with. The state of California, according to the IRS data book, which takes into consideration the numbers from HUD and from FEMA, and from the Internal Revenue Service, stated that, according to them, the data book shows that for the fiscal year 2022, which is the last year that we have data for, it takes a few years for all this data to accumulate, but the state of California contributed $512 billion towards the U.S. budget. Okay. Conversely, Mike Johnson's home state of Louisiana contributed $25.5 billion. So we can look at it one of two ways. The state of California paid 20 times as much as the state of Louisiana, or you can look at Louisiana and say, look, you're only paying 1/20th of what the rest of the world is paying, or what California is paying. On the Trump scale, that would mean that you aren't meeting your bills. That's the way he treats the United Nations people. You need to contribute more. You got to kick up more money. But at the same breath, you want to withhold their emergency funding. So let's look back for just a second. Mr. Johnson lives in a pretty rough neighborhood in the state of Louisiana. Like he said in the clip, they're no stranger to disasters. Well, he's actually a friend to disaster. In 2005, and let me make sure I've got these numbers right here. In 2005, when Katrina and Rita went through, it cost the U.S. government $13.4 billion in disaster and FEMA aid to the state of Louisiana. That's with a B, by the way, $13.4 billion. In 2008, when Gustav and Ike came through, it cost another $1.39 billion. Okay, now, these numbers are big numbers, but you got to remember that this money is going to people that actually need it. A lot of us saw a lot of the disaster films from down in that area. One of the big ones that everybody's familiar with is the floods in 2016, when that flotilla of people from around the country came with their canoes and their boats and everything to help rescue the people from Louisiana. That was another $1.7 billion coming in from the U.S. government to help Mike's neighborhood out. Then there was Ida. Hurricane Ida was 2021, as I recall, $2+ billion. Now, I'm not complaining that Mike got that money. I'm just saying, Mike, you know what disasters are like. You say California and he has a problem and they need to get their forests and stuff cleaned up, or at least the president has said that, the ex-president. Poor management. They've listed so many excuses and attacked them on so many different fronts, from DIE to poor training to poor management to poor water supplies, which we know California's had a drought for over 3 decades now. So I don't know how you expected them to manage the water. But, you know, your state's no better, Mike. Your state is in a bad situation. Now, granted, it's geographical. Yeah, I get it. You live kind of in the Gulf. You live in kind of lowland. And I sympathize with you. I have family in Mobile, Alabama for a long time, and they lived in lowland, and I felt bad for them. The house that we had on Dolphin Island was wiped out 3 times when the insurance company finally handed the check to us and said, don't come back. I get it. But we didn't go back. Okay, and while you're saying that California's wildfires are poorly managed, well, Mike, how are you doing with hurricanes and floods? Okay, you're not doing any better. You know, stop calling the kettle black, pot. But I digress. You know, we're talking about people. We're talking about human beings. We're talking about our brothers and sisters in California. When it comes to brothers and sisters needing help, there's no blue or red or purple. There's no this side, that side. There's no MAGA, Republican, or Democrat. It's people. It's human beings that need help. Okay? So what's with your supporting holding back their aid? You're supposed to be one of the stops along the train that holds the purse, that controls what goes on, and you're supposed to be able to stand up to the executive branch. You're the legislative branch, remember? You're the branch that's supposed to hold him accountable. You hold the purse strings. Stop playing political games. I remind you that you're not the most popular person within your own party. I remind you that on multiple occasions they've called for you to be removed. I remind you that they have actually tried to take votes to kick you out. And the only thing that kept you from getting kicked out was sheer luck and the president intervening, or the president-elect intervening, because he said he needed you for right now. He couldn't afford to go into an inauguration without a Speaker of the House. So, if your job's that tenuous, how do you think that puts you when the next hurricane comes along or the next flood comes along? Because according to the numbers I'm looking at here, you're about due for another storm or another disaster. And then you're going to come hunting for money. And you're going to be on the outs, the same as Gavin Newsom and California are. And what do you think they're going to do to you? I'm asking you seriously, Mike. I'm asking you seriously to think about what you're about to do. You have the power to say no. You have the power of the purse. That's what the House of Representatives is for, the power of the purse. So I'm asking you, do the right thing. Take care of your brothers and sisters. They may wear a different color hat than you, but they need you now, and you may need them later on. It's a two-way street. With that, folks, I'm going to call it a night here. I don't want to get political about this. I just wanted to keep it at the numbers. I just wanted to keep it at what the jobs are all about and who has safety, because there's not really a big safety net out there for anybody anymore. But I digress. Tomorrow's the inauguration. I wish you all a happy day. I wish safety for everyone. And with that, I'll say good night. Thank you.